There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place could be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you find there's no need to cry. In this place, you feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for living. Make a better place for you and for me. Meine Damen und Herren, der Soweto Gospel Choir.
It's a frank dialogue on your radio with me on Prof JJ Tabane. We are coming to you live tonight from Alex FM, Kofifi FM, Social FM, EK FM, and Theta FM. And tonight we're talking health, and that's why we say heal the world, man. You know, there's a lot of, health is one of the things that affect every single citizen. Of course, in the last few months, a big debate has been about the national health insurance that, one could say that it has become now a political football, because you now have political parties on either side of the aisle saying we don't want it. Others say no, we want it, however, not in its current form, and so on. So a big debate about that. But at the end of it is about universal health care. It's actually very, very serious that only 16% of our population can actually access proper, proper private health care, where when you go into the hospital, you at least have a sense that you'll come out alive. The rest of it, there are some hospitals where even the community fear them. To say, hey, if we take our grandmother there, hey, let's just say goodbye. And I think that's wrong. What we need is that regardless of your circumstance, and really is what the NHI is about, whether it's affordable and so on, we can have the debate. But it's really about whether or not, if I live in Madidi and I have an accident in Madidi, and the nearest hospital is Acacia Private Hospital, I must die because they are trying to take you to a hospital they believe you deserve. It's far. They are going to go, by the time they get to that hospital, you have exhausted what is called the golden hour. If somebody has an accident now at 9 o'clock and they are not in a hospital by 10 o'clock, that person can kiss life goodbye, because they may be internally bleeding. All sorts of complications can happen because they could bleed to death, and all of these things. And when people now talk about just differentiating, or in a sense making the health issue to be a class issue, you are poor, so you go to you go to what? Maybe to Tembisa Hospital. They think that's what you deserve, right? Whereas you live very far from the Tembisa Hospital. You may be living next to Pain Heaven Hospital because you live in Krugersdorp. But they say, no. You don't have a medical aid, so we're going to take you to Bara, which will take you 45 minutes in traffic to get there. By the time they attend to you, you are almost dead. And I think really, if we just simplify the NHI in that way, we'll understand why it cannot be tolerable that there are people who actually don't want the NHI to succeed. They don't want it to succeed because they say, no, but we've got medical aid. Why do you bother us, and what have you? That's one side of the story. The other side of the story is to say, are our facilities ready to absorb everybody, right? And in a sense, be equalized. And that's part of what I want to discuss with the MAC. There's been a lot of stories and issues about health infrastructure in our province in particular. Our hospitals up to scratch? Is the service that patients receive there up to scratch? Where there are issues, what are the plans that government has to fix these issues? So I'm looking forward to that conversation with the MEC of Health. What do you think? Give us a ring. What do you think of this whole issue about universal health care? Do you understand it? Do you understand what it means? Do you understand that means that everyone essentially will have a medical aid overnight? Whether you are working, you are not working, you're working in the streets, in the whatever we call PW program, EPW program, or you are working in the C-suite executive floor, somewhere in Santen, you will be able to access the same quality of medical care. It's actually the medical care as it is now is extremely unaffordable. It's unaffordable. If you were in a situation like the gentleman who was complaining a lot here, called Tom London, right? Who was in a facility, he got bad treatment there, and then went to raise money to go to a private hospital. He needed 250,000 rands for a couple of days. He just ran out, and now he's got to go back to a private facility, a public facility. It's that unaffordable. A stay in a hospital for a week or two can easily be 300,000 rands before they even talk about specialists, before they talk about medication you must get when you live there and so on. It's actually bizarre. In a country that is rich with minerals, rich with natural resources, we have a situation where more than 80% of the population can just die from unavoidable things. They can just die because they are not worthy of approaching a private hospital, even if they are next door to it. They got to go somewhere else where they are seen to be worthy there. What do you think of that? I mean, it sounds bizarre. It's not what we have signed up for when we said we're getting freedom, isn't it? Right? But at the same time, do we ignore the concerns that are raised? I mean, a lot of people are raising that the fact that now suddenly you're going to have one big fund means all the money that is now in several funds will be in one big fund, and there'll be one board that decides, okay, we're going to buy oncology services from that oncologist, gynecology services from that gynecologist. And so when people are saying, hey, what happened during COVID? We're afraid, man. We're afraid because here's another pot of stolen goods that's about to happen. There are those concerns. How can we deal with those concerns? Of course, in part of the conversation must be not to dismiss those concerns, but to be able to say, this is how those concerns can be dealt with. So we're dealing with issues of health tonight. Give us a ring on 011-440-1396 as we await the arrival of the MEC. We'll be conducting that conversation. It's a frank dialogue on your radio, all the way from Alex FM, Kofifi FM, Sosha FM, EKFM, and Teta FM. Stay tuned.
Frank Dialogue on your radio with Dr. JJ Tabane. Let's talk frankly.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place could be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you find there's no need to cry. In this place, you feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for living. Make a better place for you and for me. Meine Damen und Herren, der Soweto Gospel Choir.
It's a frank dialogue on your radio. You can give us a ring if you want to talk about health issues. Of course, while we're waiting for the MEC, we're going to be starting that conversation shortly. You can give us a ring on 011 440 1396. What's your experience with our health facilities? You know, there's lots of health facilities. There's over 37 hospitals. Can you believe it? In Gauteng alone. And there are other facilities, emergency facilities, but there's also 420 clinics. Can you believe it? What's your experience in those health facilities? Do you find that there are some that one could call centers of excellence? When you go there, you feel that you are welcome and you get the help that you need. And where you find disappointments, what are those kind of disappointments? Tell us. And of course, when the MEC comes, you can field some of those questions. So give us a ring now on 011 440 1396. We're on Alex FM tonight, Kofifi FM, Social FM, EK FM, and Theta FM. And your frank dialogue on your radio, syndicating to all of these stations and getting to talk to communities, hear what you got to say, but also engage, bringing you leaders of our government and civil society and business to come and talk to you as communities about your concerns. A lot of people, when it comes to the issue of health facilities, will always have something to say, because you're talking about life and death. If you take somebody to a health facility, you really are not interested in explanations about why certain things are not in place. Because for you, when you are going to that kind of facility, it's an issue of you being vulnerable. You are at your lowest peak, you are ill, you are helpless, and actually it's not a time for you to at that point be assessing is the health facility okay or not. By that time it's a little bit too late. So give us a ring, converse, and give us your own assessment of how you see these health facilities. What can be done? What can government do to improve those facilities to make sure that they can be at your service in the best possible way? Very interesting day. If you are listening from Social FM, the bad news is you no longer have a mayor. Your mayor has been chucked out. This you are listening to us from Social FM. What do you think about that? You can also give us a ring in this instance. We're going to be talking shortly to the MEC straight after the break.
Frank Dialogue on your radio with Dr. JJ Tabane. Let's talk frankly. Frank Dialogue on your radio with Dr. JJ Tabane. Let's talk frankly.
It's Frank Dialogue. We're on Alex FM, Kofifi FM, Social FM, and EK FM, and Theta FM tonight. The Frank Dialogue on your radio, focusing on health matters tonight. We've been talking about that as we're waiting for the MEC. You can give us a ring on 011-440-13962 to engage with the MEC. MEC, thank you so much for making time to talk to us tonight.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to everyone, including those that are at home.
No, wonderful. And that's also, we want to just start here. A lot of, if you like, conversations about the health infrastructure. I mean, that's a very complicated term, but basically, if I go to a hospital, I expect it to be working.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there and I'm told the taps are not working, the baths are broken, the floors are dirty, and what have you. By the way, some of the people don't know, some of the cleanest hospitals are public hospitals. I mean, the hospital that was in the news recently, that Rebecca Musa mother and child, has been one of the cleanest hospitals. You can see yourselves on the floor in the past. I'm not sure about today. Tell us, just in straightforward summary, what keeps you awake at night in as far as infrastructure of the health system is concerned in Gauteng?
That's the right question indeed. I don't sleep at night because of the infrastructure in our hospitals.
Yeah.
But I think now I'm getting at least 2 hours I do get sleep.
Okay, all right.
After 2 hours, because we've tried to make sure that we maintain our infrastructure. Something that we're not doing ourselves, because we have a department that is an agency that has been helping us.
Yeah.
So we relied on that and we didn't monitor. Because I don't blame the department, I blame us, even the Department of Health. Because even if somebody is maintaining your infrastructure, your role is to make sure that those things that they're supposed to do, they do them on time.
Yes.
And I'm sure you have seen that some of our projects were incomplete.
Yeah.
If we start them, we finish them after 8 years.
Yeah.
As I arrived in the department in October 2022, I find that there are some of the hospitals that were built 6 years or 7 years back that were incomplete. So clearly there was something wrong that we're not doing in terms of managing and monitoring the infrastructure that we have. Hence, even on the maintenance side, it's a problem as we speak.
Yeah.
But now we're bringing back those centers of excellence, as we are saying, because Raima Musa is one of our best centers of excellence.
Yeah.
Especially
But you have to evacuate it.
child.
Am I right? You have evacuated to place it under Nelson Mandela Hospital or something?
Yes, we have an
Please
agreement.
explain that.
We have an agreement with Nelson Mandela Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
Because we even want to take some of the part of that hospital. There are negotiations that we are busy doing so that we can utilize the hospital, which is a very beautiful hospital, by the way. And I think it will be good that we have it after we have seen. We have heard Premier announcing that we need to build 18 hospitals in the province.
Sure.
But part of those is to take over from those hospitals that we know they are already available in the province and make sure that then we...
No, that's an interesting part. You really need to tell me about that, because my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that there are some ghost hospitals that are just left to just dilapidate. I mean, shouldn't you start with those, to fix those, before you build 18 more?
You are correct. This is exactly what we agreed then with the Premier, that for starters, let's do 4, which we know that plans are in place. So Davidton Hospital that we're going to build, Orange Farm Hospital that we're going to build, plans are already there. So Shanguve Hospital, including the Deep Slot Stroke Oliven Hood-Bush, because it's in between those two areas. But people from Oliven will kill me because they say it must be with us. But it's between the two, but it's a Deep Slot, this one. But we're still
Deep Slot, you're going to need a big emergency unit in Shanguve.
Definitely, we will do that. But then we said the 4, it's a done deal. It's something that already funds are being looked into. But the others, we must look for those old hospitals that we have. You know Hillbrow Hospital. It used to be one of the beautiful hospitals. I'm attached
so
to it.
What has happened now?
It's a CHC now. We changed it to a community health center. But we can still make it a hospital, back to a hospital. Johan Haynes in Sidibeng, we are changing it now. We want to bring it back their life as a hospital, not as a community health center as we are, because those are the areas that then will add up to the number that Premier said. As you are saying, those are ghost hospitals. The structure, some of them are still strong. It's just a matter of renovating those certain parts, then make them work. So it's possible once we can have money.
The DA is saying the whole thing is a big bloody mess. I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, there seems like there's a plan, to deal with infrastructure, to fix what's broken, and so on. Why are we hearing a lot of negativity around infrastructure? Is it as bad as we are being told, that truly the whole system is collapsing?
I always say to the DA, especially the members of the portfolio committee, why don't you go with me and see these hospitals and show me where there's this big mess? Because it's proper if you talk about the mess when you are right there on site. Go with me to Pethaqwa and tell me if Pethaqwa, the old and the new hospital, it's a mess. We've renovated the old Pethaqwa now. We are going to have 6 bedded units there for mental health. The beautiful infrastructure that we have done with less than even 25 million, because it's 21 million, including the furniture that is going to be put there for mental health. We're renovating South Rand Hospital, which is an old hospital, that if you can go now, you can see a huge change there. We're renovating Kopanong Hospital, which they used to say it's a mess, but it's no longer that mess that they're saying. Bekimlangen, it's one of the new hospitals that we have. We're adding a ward there for mental health. Quite a number of movements and renovations and maintenance that we're doing to hospitals. But unfortunately, people come to the studio and don't say, Asambe Bonisa this mess. And that's why I want to challenge all the journalists that can we have a date with yourselves so that you go to these hospitals, broadcast there. See these things that you want me to talk about them at the studio. Because it will be easier when you are there. Even the citizens, even the citizens will be happy to see you, JJ, standing there in front of Pethaqwa or Telemorane or Pulusong Hospital, saying, I'm here right in the heart of Tsakane. This hospital used to be a mess, but now there are changes that we have done there. There are no acknowledgements in everything that we are doing when it comes to infrastructure. But again, Mamelodi Hospital, that last week we were there again opening some other wards. And I was saying, every CEO, before they will renovate now, we go and benchmark with Mamelodi Hospital because it's one of the best hospitals that we have in the country.
Mamelodi.
In the Mamelodi, it used to be called Dhaka. What hospital was people are smelling Dhaka. I don't know what was happening there. But it's one of the best hospitals now. It's a flagship. Everything that we started there. And in terms of the academic hospital, Charlotte is one of the better hospitals that we have.
Absolutely.
Steve Biko is the same. Dr. George has been having some problems, but we're renovating it because it's a big hospital too. It follows Para, by the way. Then Para, we have
there was the hospital called Harangua, Harangua
exactly.
Hospital.
Then Para, we're renovating Para. You will see soon, already contractors are on site at Para because we want to change Para because it's one of the best hospital in the continent. Remember, we're servicing not only South Africans, and the size of it is the size of 3 hospitals, 3 tertiary hospitals, not just hospitals. It's not supposed to be 3,000 beds, but now it's more than even those 3,000 beds, and it's a huge hospital that it needs us to take care of it because it serves our own, and the type of clinicians in all these hospitals, including the infrastructure that we have, it's out of this world. You can go to some of the private hospitals, you can't see the infrastructure that we're having that is there.
Be that as it may, MEC, there seems to be a sense that patients are complaining about certain things. We saw on television being shown there, people crawling, no, what do you call it, wheelchairs, etc. Now, if you've got 37 hospitals and you want to add 18, you're going to have 50 hospitals. You're going to have 420 clinics. Unless you are Holy Spirit, you're not going to be everywhere every time.
You are right.
Right? How do you deal with that? Because the issue is not whether or not there may be a service mishap. The issue is, if I called the department and said, hey, there's a long queue here, or I see that, like we saw at that hospital, I think it was in Pretoria, where a patient was chained to a chair, things like that, right? What is the intervention strategy? Because clearly, I mean, if you just take Bara, 3,000, you can't tell me that there won't be a problem if you just use it with one patient in some ward being left alone there, etc., right? Can you tell me just about that mitigation strategy that I can go to bed believing that even if there's a problem, the department will intervene this way, that way?
One of the areas that we're doing, we have quality assurance managers.
Okay.
That in every hospital and in every clinic, so there's that dedicated person. That's why you hear me sometimes saying, let's serve them like we're at a bank. My sisters are bankers, so I like to use that, because when I get into a bank, I know that somebody will stand at the door. How can I help you?
Yes.
Where are you going? Do you need this side?
Yes.
That's the corner. The doctor is that side. So just that part, for starters, we need to do that. But again, we have launched,
so that they don't sit on a queue and then find that they're in the wrong queue.
You're in the wrong queue. But immediately, if there's somebody that does that, so I've said to them, we're training them now. And I've said they must wear uniform that will be different, with that T-shirt here, but I serve with a smile or a scarf, so that when they get in, you know that that person with the yellow T-shirt
is going to help
is
you.
the one that must help you and make sure that you are being assisted at the hospital. Even when you have a complaint, that's the person that you must lay a complaint to. But I've said we have launched a campaign that we called I Serve with a Smile and Care campaign. It's just simplifying Batupili principles. Because we say even at the gate, the security guard, including the receptionist, everyone, the porter, up until you get into the doctors. So that everybody must must handle you with care. I was even telling them that the minute you are ill-treated in a hospital, you don't want to go back again. Just one individual that didn't treat you well, you feel that nobody is going to help you.
Absolutely, because you're most vulnerable when you are there.
You don't want to be associated with the people that doesn't even care who you are, who doesn't even greet you. And it exactly takes you to the Tom that I always say, Tom, his irritation was that the doctor didn't greet him. The young doctor even says to me, MEC, the young doctor didn't greet me. The other doctors were doing this. So it's exactly the attitude that Tom is complaining about that he received at Helen Joseph. So I think we're learning from that, all of us. That
you reached out to Tom?
Yes, we had a session with Tom, because he wanted to see Premier, and then Premier said, let me accompany him to meet with Tom, and that was his complaint. Good, I see everything you guys are trying. You have the best equipment, best medication, because Tom is being treated at Helen, by the way. It was not the first time that he was there. That's why he was there for 14 days. But he says, just that little girl that didn't greet me. And I saw how they were been treating other patients in the whole world. But what we did again, because remember, some of the young doctors that we get are from the university. So we had now to have a session with VC from VETS, because that team that goes to Helen is from VETS. We had a session with him, and we agreed that these are the mistakes that we are doing. When a new team comes in, because they come every 6 months,
they need to be orientated.
We must orientate them, we must induct them, so that they can understand the principles and what is expected here. Because they are young, they come from school, we can't blame them, but at least there must be those processes and procedures that they must follow when they are there.
But what's your assessment as MEC? This is now your second term, right? You are not new to the portfolio.
Yes.
Your health workers are listening to you now. What is your assessment about that? Because the fact that you launch something that says serve with a smile, that in itself, it's imposing something that should be natural to health workers, because they are, in a sense, standing between you and your life, literally. Sometimes it's actually life and death. What's your assessment about how the health workers are embracing that kind of culture?
They are embracing it, because every Monday we sit and get the assessment of how the campaign goes, because we have a dedicated director that is responsible for that. That goes in each and every hospital with a team. In fact, now we call it a movement. I serve with a smile movement, because they are a group. So we get those, we do the assessment and check how far are we still not doing right. Then they will make a follow-up in those specific areas. But for me, we've been when I arrived in the department, we were receiving more complaints than compliments. But now we're getting more compliments than compliments.
Serious?
I'm telling you. I'm telling you, and it's a good sign for us, because that's when you can see that there is an impact in your campaign that you are doing. But then, as we are saying, not everybody will be happy. But we still believe that everyone that is not happy must come forward. I know Eden Vale is having a relationship with Alex FM. There's somebody that comes here, I think once a week, just a quality assurance manager that comes here and listen to the citizens. What is it that we're not doing right at Eden Vale Hospital? So, and I want that to happen to all the community radio stations, because our hospitals are in the communities. If all quality assurers can go at least once, just for an hour, to listen to the citizens, besides that box that we say, put everything in the box. But now when you're communicating with them, you'll be able to hear really, I was not helped, I am not happy, this is what has happened in the hospital, and we do get those.
Understand there's a call center of some sort. I mean, do you think that it is impactful? I mean, first of all, do people use it a lot, or they like to escalate to whoever they know? And secondly, do you have capacity to handle the volume of complaints that are coming from across the whole big sector?
We do have that call center, but it doesn't have enough capacity. That's another thing that we should capacitate, so that we're able to deal with the volumes of complaints, but you must act on them immediately. Because myself and the HOD, we sleep very late, always, every day, because there is 1 or 2 complaints that he deals with them. But good thing, because he's a person that works at the emergency services, it's easy for him to quicker address a complaint directly himself, even before even the CEOs can do that. But even the CEOs now, because we're training them to understand that this is not an environment where you can just sleep without checking what is it. And we're picking up now all the complaints, even ourselves as the management. But the call center is still key. We still need to strengthen that call center, because it's going to help us. But again, we have arrangements with universities. So it's easier now where we have a shortage. We go for university and say, please, we know you have students that need to do a certain thing. Just bring them on board to help us. Even on this one of the infrastructure, we have a pool now, I think it's 100 that is going to come, which DDG is working with the university, TVET colleges. We're training them, some of them who are EPWPs, to do artisan. Some will be electricians, so that we can put them and plug them in all the hospitals. So they're able to check every day, run around. Is the globe working? Is the door working? Because in some you find that the doors are not working. Just the hinges. It's something that you can take 20 rand and go and buy it. So those are the things that now we
but
want
they'll
to
go on tender for that.
We want to cut those things. And I don't think it's a nice thing then, remember? But we have to do it.
Absolutely. One of the things that irritate citizens when you go to hospital is the queues. Right? And it's not just because, I mean, when very few people want to queue. I'm not sure when last did you queue at anything. If I could avoid the queue if I wanted to. And everybody wants to avoid the queue. They want to be the first one in the queue, but it's not possible. But the key thing there about the queue at the hospital is where you find that somebody who's on the queue dies on the queue, you can quote, or could collapse or whatever, because their condition doesn't allow them actually to be queuing. But nobody knows, right? I had an example a few months ago. A couple of people that I know who are part of my staff and so on got involved in a taxi accident somewhere in Krugersdorp. They were attended to at 2 p.m. The incident was at 8. They were attended at 2. So I wanted to address that, the queue thing, right? Because you mentioned something interesting about like when you go to a bank, etc. I suppose that is still on a pilot stage. I don't think you can find it in many hospitals, right? But on the other side, you find that even in emergency, you find that people who are in an emergency, the person who's bleeding or who's internally bleeding and what, could be attended after hours. I mean, this was a real life example where the first X-ray was taken at 2 when the accident was at 8. What can you tell me there about quality assurance of the public hospital? Because you made a statement last week, excuse me, that said that some of the hospitals are ready for NHI. That was a very bold statement, that they are ready for NHI, and people were nervous to say, how on earth? Please deal with that for me.
On this one of the queue, we have queue management system that we've installed at Raima Musa. It's working as I speak. It's one of the best. I'm going to invite you. Well, we're supposed to launch it last month.
How does it work?
You get there, and then that's nice system where and then you press your name,
and then they give you a ticket.
Yes, and then
they'll call you to say number 3, number 2.
And it's moving so fast. I've seen it at Raima Musa. It has started working, but we're taking it to other hospitals. It's one of the exciting things. We're waiting for the date because Premier wants to be there, because he insisted that I can't launch that one without him. So we're waiting for the date from the Premier's office. We will be launching it soon. It's starting already. We're going to roll it out.
But what's the idea? Let's say I'm coming there, I've got a headache. Right? And somebody is behind me, but they've got maybe a bleeding leg or something. Right? Would that system distinguish between who's Who's agent, who's not agent?
Yes, it's going like they do at the bank. You know, you remember they separate you.
Yeah, to say collection.
You go that side for this side. That's exactly what it's doing. Yeah.
I see. I mean, that will be fantastic. I mean, what will it take to implement it in all hospitals?
It's money that is needed, but I know now because we have reprioritized, we will be taking it to some hospitals soon in this quarter. Starting to other.
Is it possible that you could partner maybe with the private sector, because you know your MECO finances that you're going to be broke soon, all of you?
No, we'll be happy. We'll be happy with partnership.
So shouldn't you be looking maybe towards the private sector, because with the NHI all of us are going to be the same?
We will be happy with partnership. Anyone that can assist us and say we have something, including the hospitals, by the way, building of the hospitals, who are partnering. Definitely with some of the private sector. There are people that
because maybe there may be a private sector company that can put all those queue management systems, the same ones that they put at their banks.
That is why we have to go and see that one, because it's working, and I was so excited to see it, because it's part of my 100 days, by the way. So that's why I was excited.
Oh, is that the case?
Of money to do it, yeah.
You've delivered something.
I've delivered it, but it must go to other hospitals.
But tell me about quality.
And again, we have the app that we are using at Kalafong Hospital. We've started there with that app. There are no queues at Kalafong. We're taking it to Para. Remember, Para, inside the Para, you have 13 clinics. The biggest one is the busiest one. Yes, for medication, when you go to collect, it's not only that big one that you see right at the back there. There are other clinics. 13 clinics there that have pharmacies. So in all those pharmacies...
No, but MEC, you're not communicating. It's the first time I hear this.
I'm telling you.
I'm actually shocked.
We have them. Inside Para.
13 clinics.
Yeah, inside Para, you'll find there. And the pharmacies there. So each clinic there's a pharmacy.
So what on earth do you mean that these hospitals are ready for NHI? Can you please explain to me?
They are ready for NHI because we are being checked by National, and National work with the OHS, which is occupational health standards. That they go separately from us. It's an independent body that says you are ready. They don't just tick the box. They go literally and see what is it that we have in the hospital.
My goodness. So you are saying to me
starting from the wards, from the beds, from the kitchen, from the pharmacy, from the accident and emergency area, all the things that you will expect to have in a hospital.
A lot of people are nervous about the NHI, right? In that they are thinking, you know, are we all now going to have these long queues? Are we all going to be subjected to maybe in quote substandard health interventions, because now it's all free for everybody, it's free for all? Just assure the citizens how this is going to work, the NHI.
You know what the weakness that we've been doing, which we are doing it in the province, is to clarify the citizens how this process is going to work and how is it going to be helpful for them. We assume that everybody understands it. So what we have done now, we have a team in the department that goes to every stakeholders that work with them in the department, being it labor, NGOs, other community members. We've been running those workshops with them, and that's the only time now that people says, now we understand. We thought it's just something easy to do. So it's possible to do it as long as we have capacity. That's why we're aggressive now in terms of training, skilling and reskilling our nurses, our doctors.
But are you ready to press the button now? Because this is what I was,
we're ready
I was
to press the button now.
That Shalom Al-Klek can just be as good as Pain Heaven Hospital.
Yes, and it's a good example that you are saying about Charlotte and Steve. Because even at that time when we were starting this, they started at that time to be compliant at that time, way back for NHI. Charlotte McClay.
So you think in Gauteng won't take 15 years to implement NHI?
It will never. If it's next month, we can do it next month. With the hospitals, the 16 hospitals that are compliant, we can do it. The one that I know, they've been checked.
A lot of people nervous about the funding model of this NHI. They're saying all this money is going to be in one big pot and it's going to be stolen from this pot, like we've seen during COVID. What do you say to people who say that?
For me, I always say that there must be, once there is money, there are always management controls that you must have. You tighten your controls, there is nobody who can do anything. For COVID, I think it was unfortunate that we were unable to do that. We did it after 2 weeks, if you remember. That's the only time then that we had to
But the money had already been stolen in 2 weeks.
But it was because there was the you remember National was responsible for some of that, including the pricing, because the most dangerous thing that happened is the issue of
overpricing of masks.
That was the issue.
Crazy.
Even when you go to SIU report, it was the issue of overpricing that created that chaos. So I think if we tighten that, everything is by the book. There are people that are responsible. There is accountability, because sometimes we think that accountability must stand. We must do it after a quarter, like we do it with the first quarter, third quarter.
Yeah.
Every week for me, you must account.
You must account. How do you spend the resources?
That is why I'm not having meetings on monthly now with my managers. Every Monday they meet with me, because I must know what they've done for the week and what are we going to do for the week. So it was difficult when I arrived with that, because nobody is used to that. They've never seen an MEC that demands a meeting every week. And I needed that meeting every week so that I can understand what we're doing. Anybody from finance unit to every unit. Because if you leave finance out of that, remember, everything that we do in the hospitals is centered around finance. You can't function without finance. You can't function without HR.
Yeah.
And those are the things that the people think, that if you're in hospital, you have to only focus on the clinical services.
Yeah.
Clinical services can improve if you have tightened your controls, you have tightened your HR, you know the files, like this issue of filing that I thought you will ask me about it again. We have e-filing now. We've started it at Para.
The filing is at Tembisa Hospital.
I know you're getting there. We've started at Para. We're busy now doing the e-filing system. And we're taking it. Tembisa is one of the Tembisa 10. Those ones that I know, when you get there, you see that mess that you call.
No, it's a mess.
So once you get there, so I want you, when you say it's a mess, it's no longer there. So I'm going to take you to those hospitals, but even others. But we have a pool of young people that we've taken, we've trained. They are young, they are fresh from school, they are busy now doing that filing at Para. And because some of the files are dated back as 2000.
Sure.
And remember, if we are litigated in some of these cases that we're having,
you got to find the
file. But if you're filing, it's a mess, as you always say, quoting you directly, it will not. You will not win the case. In law.
We are talking to the MEC of Health here in Gauteng, and we really are digging deep into the state of the health. Said, do you believe her? Do you think she's on top of her job and so on? Give us a call. Tell us what your experience is. 011-440-1396. It's a frank dialogue on your radio. Coming to you live from Alex FM, Kofifi FM, Social FM, EK FM, and Theta FM. What's your experience? Have you been to a hospital lately? Have you been greeted with a smile that the MEC is talking about? MEC, the issue of finances always comes up with Gauteng. It's not even your fault. I'll come to where's your fault. But before that, if I look at the last 4 MECs, they've had to deal with the fact that suppliers are not paid on time. Suppliers are not paid at all, right? Or suppliers, the contract may be cancelled. We had a situation where at Bara, they say, bread is finished because the supplier outsourced to another one. And what have you?
I'm building a bakery, by the way, at Bara.
When were you going to tell us?
I'm building a bakery.
When were you going to tell us? Tell me now. No, man, MEC, no, this is not on.
I'm going to have a bakery at Bara.
Do we have a control or a handle on the finances? And I'll tell you why. We had the MEC of Finance here 2 weeks ago, I think, right, when we were launching a series of talking about the Gauteng economy. And one of the questions I asked, and I always ask this one consistently, why are small businesses paid late and what have you? Because you come here and say, I'm supporting small business, township economy, but you pay them late and then they get disbanded or they get dissolved because of that, right? You know what she said? I'm sorry to tell you. She said, no, actually we have made lots of progress. We're at 96% of paying, except when you add health, we're at 50.
No, let me tell you what has happened, because because I know you followed whatever Premier says. When I was taken to the Department of Health, it was not because I'm a clinician or I understand finance, I'm a doctor. It was because of the finance.
Yes, because you used to be an MEC of Finance.
Yes. And I used to work with them. We had a war room that Premier Makura said I must run on the finances, which we were doing well. Now at least we're trying to babysit health to do the right thing. But what we picked up then, when I was still not there, was that the colleagues are not prioritizing SMMEs. That's why you find that a person that you owe 1,000 rand can't stay really.
No, they'll starve.
4 months not being paid.
By the time they receive it, they've already borrowed against it.
Exactly. So what I did then when I arrived, we started to categorize the accounts. We said those small ones, this is the amount that we can pay within even less than 10 days, 15 days. Then there are bigger accounts that we have. There are those that were there accumulated millions that they were not paying them, which is real. Then we said, fine, let's call all these big companies that we've been owing. Sit down with them, let's negotiate.
Yeah.
We know that we're owing you this amount of money. Can you agree that we pay you in terms until we finish your account?
Yeah.
And people never said, no, I don't want to lie to you. They agreed in that proposal. Then we started to do that. Then the same as the middle ones, but the small ones, I don't take an excuse for small businesses.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
So I said anyone that you owe a small amount of money must be paid.
Yeah.
But the problem now that we had of us making the department not to reach 100% 30 days payment, because that's where we're weaker. We're not giving them that on our side. But it's not 54. It's not 54, but it's not at the level that you expect, because it's one department, remember. So definitely they're sitting at 96, 97 sometimes if we're not paying. But what we have done then, because every cabinet meeting, they will table the expenses and who has paid, who have not been paying. When I was there, I remember my department, which I'm there now, if they've paid suppliers 14%, if we use percentages, we used to clap hands that they've done something.
Sure.
But now we've moved. We're paying them, we're sitting at 55, 65, 75. We're hovering around that in terms of payments, because we still don't have enough money now out of what we get, because we found huge amount of accruals in the department, huge amounts of irregular expenditure. So I said to them, because we want to reduce that, we will definitely have this allocation that we've been given for this month to pay whatever we're paying. Let's prioritize.
So you are living hand to mouth as a department.
Let's prioritize and pay the accruals. No, good thing is that you get allocations. You don't get all your money. When people say you have 62 billion or 65 billion, it's not
sitting with you.
It's a treasury. Then treasury every month they allocate a certain percentage. You use this amount, you pay whatever you owe.
Yeah.
So at least see a corner, and then with the access, when we've paid, we take it to accruals, we take it to irregular expenditure, because we don't have money. Nobody will give us money to pay that. It's us that must devise means. And we're reducing that irregular expenditure. We're reducing the accruals as we speak now. It's no longer those billions that were there before.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, yes, we're not correct, but yes, we're getting there. For us, we celebrate because we know that this is not where we were before.
Yes,
even the books,
improved.
I always say to them, because you fly it, you'll be red or green. I will always say, if you have removed all the green, the reds there, I'm happy, because I know this department used to be red almost in every unit.
Sure.
So now at least we are proud, because we're no longer red like we used to be before. But again, the litigations, remember, the amount that we pay to the lawyers on litigation, that money, it was used to be like, if you are charging us as a lawyer, you say, I need 20 million for my client.
Yeah.
We're not negotiating. Guys, we just boom, pay 20 million. Then we set up systems. I said, let's negotiate.
Yeah.
Let's have a team of lawyers.
So that you manage your cash flow.
So that we manage our cash flows. If you feel that your child...
So is it true that sometimes you don't pay the suppliers just because there's actually no money?
No, it's no longer like that.
Yeah.
Since I've been there is no one that will not pay, because we even have access. That's why I'm saying we get the money, and that money will even channel it to the accruals and irregular expenditure, so that we are reducing other things now with what we have.
Okay.
We do pay suppliers. The ones that we're not paying at some stage, if we verify every account. There is no account that we don't verify. Even if it was in 2011, you are going to show us what have you done when we owed you.
Yeah. Okay, let's take some calls. Good evening. You are on radio. Good evening. Good evening. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. Caller. Good evening. All right, looks like we're not winning with that. We'll take a break. After the break, I want us to...
problem.
Yeah. After the break, I'll talk a little bit about medical legal claims. Minister Mutsaledi raised alarm about a month ago, saying billions, are being claimed, and just people just want to bankrupt. They just want to bankrupt the state. Talk about that. But I also want to talk to you a little bit about, your predecessor is facing prison because of life is Tabane. I want to know how you're going to avoid that. Next month, I think it's 6 years since Tabane. There's a mental health day sometime next week or thereabouts. I want you to just assure the citizens whether you are on top of that situation or not. We'll take a break. After the break, we carry on with that conversation with the MEC.
Frank Dialogue on your radio with Dr. JJ Tabane. Let's talk frankly. Frank Dialogue on your radio with Dr. JJ Tabane. Let's talk frankly.
All right, we're going to round off the conversation with the MEC now. MEC, we're running out of time. Let's round off the conversation on just deal with the medical legal claims for me.
On the medical legal claims, Prof, we had a huge amount of money when I arrived again. It was sitting around 24 billion. And then we had to do the mediation process, and now at least we are down as we speak, which has been audited by HE, was sitting at 13 billion. And I know the team again submitted the other claims that we were supposed to pay to go down. And I think at some stage I must come to you and explain contingent liability on medical claims, because when you see this round figure, it doesn't mean that is the amount that you are going to pay.
Or it's what's hanging over your head.
It's what's hanging over your head.
Yeah.
And we don't explain it to people.
Yeah.
People always think that such a lot of money.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're working on. We have plans. We have in-house lawyers now, 2 lawyers that are dedicated just to deal with those.
Yeah.
Before we can even go to state attorney and work with national around that again, because even at national there is a unit that is working with us, assisting us on that. But I'm always saying to the team, let's try avoid even any issue litigation. But again, we have the hospitals now that are centers of excellence. If it's a case that is related to CP, when during those children that sometimes during birth and then there will be problems, we have hospitals now that we must take those kids to, so that they are being assisted. If we need to build a house for you so that you can use a wheelchair, if it's something related to that, we are available. We always do that. So part of our negotiations involves that humanitarian part of it, not only just about the money.
But in short, mental health, give me one sentence that can make me comfortable that you are on top of that situation.
We're dealing with issues of mental health. We've built acute wards in every hospital now for mental health.
Okay.
So that at least people, when they arrive, we're able to put them in a proper place. Remember what you've seen in Tembisa at some stage where people are just
lumped together.
Where do they come from on that day? There were so many. We've extended the ward even in Tembisa So at least there's accommodation for that. Hence, even Pethakoa, we're doing that. We've renovated that old hospital for mental health. Quite a number of initiatives that we're doing, including the healing part of it. Like now, we have a slogan: one clinic, one household full garden, one hospital, one household full garden, because it's healing. You don't know that gardens do heal.
Absolutely.
Just to go and plant there and be busy during the day, people get better. So that's what we're doing.
We're going to have to leave it there, MEC. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we'll invite you again towards the end of the year just to come and round off the year and also take more calls from citizens. We didn't have enough time today, but we really appreciate your time and to keep doing the good work, try to fix our health system, because all of us, regardless of where we are, our backgrounds and what, health is important to all citizens, and we wish you well in the good work you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prof. We really appreciate this opportunity.
Wonderful.
Department of Health. Thanks.
That was the MEC for Health in Gauteng, talking to us about all matters health here in Gauteng, here on Frank Dialogue. We'll be bringing you more of these leaders to come and talk to you, account to you, engage with you on these very, very important dialogues. But until we talk frankly again, may God bless you.
Frank Dialogue on your radio with Dr. JJ Tabane. Let's talk frankly.